information. This is me being creative.
I'm so stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
Yeah, maybe you can't see it because he's your dad, but he's a character, your dad.
He is?
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages? Daddy, would you like some sausage? Sausages?
I'm being creative. Now, if you'll excuse me, I still have some work to do.
You startled me. How did you get in here? Did my yaya let you in? Are you here for the extra special bonus secret episode of New Dad? Well, you are in for a treat indeed, my friend, because we have two of the sexiest, most well-manicured dads on the planet in the studio tonight, talking about their favorite things from 2019, their favorite moments as a dad. This extra special bonus episode brought to you by our sponsors, Sleep 6 Mattresses. Make the most of what you get. Sleep Made Simple. Sleep 6 was filmed January 5th, a Sunday, right before the Golden Globes. And I mention that because the dads come off as quite the prognosticators. A couple different shows listed in their favorite things took home hardware later that night. So kudos to the dads, Rory and Jimmy. Shame on me, the big dum-dum I referred to one of my favorite bands as Diet Cigarette. They just go by Diet Cig. Also blanked on the name of the actor Michael K. Williams, as well as the series he appeared in, When They See Us. So, I'm a fucking idiot. What's new? Take us away, prop cause. We have Jimmy and Rory in a second.
When I'm in that groove, when I'm in that mood, and I'm in that mode, and I'm in that zone, when I'm in that flow, when I'm in that groove, when I'm in that mood, when I'm in that mode, and I'm in that zone, and I'm in that flow. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
This is New Dad After Dark. Ooh. I am here with two sexy dads, Jimmy and Rory, two guys I've known for a really long time. Rory Berg was a college roommate of mine, and James Stabler, aka No Content, was my first friend at Schofield Media. We'll do probably a separate podcast on Schofield Media in its entirety, which we could have Rory because he interviewed there once.
I did, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
I think all of our friends at some point interviewed there once.
You're going for that referral bonus, y'all. Gotta get it. These guys, you get used to seeing their faces. I plan to have them as guests on future episodes. So hopefully you guys like them. And as always, when you see a guest and you really like them, you want to see them on again, don't forget to send us an email. Again, it's newdadpod@gmail.com. So Rory, Jimmy, introduce yourselves to the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and about the kids that have made you dads.
I'm James, Jimmy Stabler, 38 years young. Pappas and I have known each other for, we were just talking about this, I think 15 years. At first I didn't like him when he sat next to me at Schofield because he was kind of annoying, but now he's turned into probably my best friend, so that's kind of cool. I have a 14-month year-old.
Gary was 14 years.
14-month-year-old. We call him Gary. His name's Dylan. So that's fun. Yeah.
And Rory, tell them a little about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Rory Berg. I've known Tommy here for about 20 years. We met in Dubuque, Iowa. We went to the same college. We were college roommates for a period of time and became great friends after that. Had a lot of good memories in lovely Dubuque, Iowa.
Pit of America.
Yeah, total shithole of America. Never go to Dubuque, Iowa if you have a chance. But yeah, I have two great kids. I have a 4-year-old son named Sawyer, and I have a almost 2-year-old daughter named Ellie. So yeah, happy to be on the show, and thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. I'm really excited to have these guys on the show because I think myself, when I became a dad, I was really interested to see how I would fit, just my personality. I've always felt a little bit on the more odd or weird side. So
just a little bit.
Yeah, so watching Rory and Jimmy, who I also think are brethren in that sort of realm, grow up and do it as well has been, we'll talk about this, one of my highlights for 2019. You guys, we're going to talk about our highlights as dads, our highlights as, just as people enjoying life. But tell me a little bit more about some of the highlights in the realm of pop culture. Anything from books to TV shows to movies, and we're going to start with you, Rory.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, once you become a dad and a parent, unfortunately, sometimes your interests, slow down a little bit. So I used to be more huge into music than I am now, but in terms of talking music, I try to listen to as much as I can. 2019, a band called Milky Chance, indie rock group out of Germany, two guys.
What was their big single? Stolen Dance?
Stolen Dance is their big one, yeah, exactly.
That's what I was trying to think of how I know them.
Yeah, they got some radio play, but they had a album that came out called Mind Over Moon, which is really good. So check that out if you can. Movie-wise, Joker I thought was awesome. I think there was a lot of hype around it, and I think that it lived up to that hype. It was dark, disturbing, sometimes funny. I think Joaquin Phoenix did a phenomenal job. And then in terms of TV shows, I think The Handmaid's Tale is a badass show, which I didn't really find myself liking the first couple episodes. But after having kids, and there's so much kid and family dynamic going on in a disturbing political environment, I just related to that. And I thought it's pretty phenomenal writing and acting. So yeah, those are kind of my big three for 2019.
And it's hard to consume pop culture as a parent. I know that it may seem like a weird question because I think that's one of the things that most people cut immediately is the shows we're able to consume, our times listening to music or whatever reading, whatever the case may be. That's what we sacrifice for the time with our kids.
Right.
So were you able to, obviously not the Joker, but like Milky Chance? I remember you mentioning that when Sawyer hears music, he'll ask a lot, "Is this reggae?" So is that like is that like something that he like? Is that like a band that he would enjoy as well?
Yeah, I think like now more than ever, I think he's starting to react to music, and the music that I like as well too. So you're right. I think he's recognizing these bands that I listen to all the time. He's kind of identifying. He'll be 4 in January. He's just getting quicker and recognizing kind of what type of instruments are in the different songs, what kind of genre it is. So that's just awesome to see. As somebody who again loves music but doesn't have a chance to listen to it as much as I'd like to, but that's just like one of many ways you can bond with your kid, and if it's something that you like as well, I mean it's awesome.
For sure. I think that's something I look forward to too. And there was another moment, I think it was this year that it happened. And I'm blanking on the name of the band, but I sent you a song, and then you shared it with Sawyer, and he was like, "Daddy, this song's good." Do you remember?
Yeah, who was that though? That was
I'll remember by the end, or if not, we'll edit it in.
I'll look on my phone. Yeah, for sure.
But like that was something where I thought it was cool because you were like, "Oh, it's like one of the first like pop songs that he's listened to."
Yeah.
It wasn't just like something. And I've found with Shep, one of my joys has been spending time listening to and it's not obviously everything I listen to is not for him, but two of my favorite albums from this year, which were Taylor Swift's Lover and Carly Rae Jepsen's Dedicated. He jams to he'll sit and listen to at least 3 or 4 of the bangers off each one of them. Nice. And that's been really fun to just been able to enjoy that with him as well.
Yeah, share those experiences with them, and absolutely.
I mean, Bubble Guppies is something I never expected to probably have on my list of favorite shows of 2019, but it's probably in my might have cracked the top 5. I really really love Nani. So
great show. Yeah. Great music in that show too.
Oh yeah. No, they actually do have some good jams. He's now in an Elmo phase. Like that's going to be in 2020. I'll have to remember that started at the beginning because. By this time next year, I'll forget. He'll probably be into
change,
bikinis and hot rods, smoking cigarettes and drinking beers. But yeah, no. Those were some of my things. But before I finish my list, we'll get to Jimmy, and you want to talk about some of your things?
Yeah, I was going to segue into talking about pop culture and being a dad and not being able to do it as much, I guess. Right. But I feel like Emily and I, my wife Emily. I feel like now that the time that we do have, we cherish it more. So it's more like I think about it more, I guess, in terms of TV, Netflix shows or whatever. And I think Fleabag and Mindhunter were probably the two I can think of off the top of my head that we really enjoyed, especially Mindhunter in terms of nonstop watching. And I think I'm pretty sure we binge watched the entire thing that same day or the same weekend at least.
Yeah, I gotta
while
check that
while
out.
Dylan was napping, like we were able to do that. And then movies, Midsommar. I'm not saying that right. Midsommar. Out of your suggestion.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only movie that we've purchased through Amazon, at least the only one that I recall, because I didn't even know we could do that, which is cool. So yeah, that movie is great, thought provoking, weird as it gets, and not boring at all.
Yeah, and if you're into horror movies at all, I highly suggest both Hereditary and Midsommar. I think what I love most, when I'm watching a movie is not knowing what's coming next. It's probably one of the things I hate the most is when I'm, as an experience, I figure, okay, this is X, Y, and Z is going to happen, and then X, Y, and Z happens.
Right.
That's
Although there is that inner that's cool that I knew that was going to happen. I should be a director.
Yeah, but
or producer.
but to that point, at what point did you figure that out? Because I would bet it was pretty late in the movie because
True.
Like we both had mentioned, there's this point when you think it's going to be one thing. And you're watching and you're like, oh, okay, this is where it's going.
And
this is great. Yeah,
completely okay.
I'm
with
on
this.
board with this,
Yeah.
and I can see where this is going to be crazy and could potentially, scare me away from something I really enjoy in life. And then it ends up not being that at all. And then, once that happens, that switch, which I would say Hereditary is like that. There's a moment in Hereditary where I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know where this is going. And then, like I said, in the flash of a road sign, what I thought happened totally turns on a dime, and now we're talking about something different. Yeah, after that you start to maybe piece it together, but still, there's having that moment. It's just so rare, I think, watching movies where you're just completely fooled, right? And both those movies did that.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, I never thought there would be two horror movies that would be up in my. I'm not a huge movie guy anyway, but wow, those are what I enjoyed. I'm like, all right, I don't know what that says.
What the hell's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. But
Yeah, no, I mean
I just know that I don't like boring shit, and it's not boring at all.
Yeah, it's one of the few genres I think that's really pushing. I mean, and I'm sure there's probably people who are going to send in some emails, and I hope they do. Turning me on to some great young writers and directors that are making some weird stuff. But yeah, I totally agree as far as that film goes for me as well. And there was I think it was. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to butcher the name, but it was a Netflix series about the Central Park Five. Maybe This Is or When They Come for Us, or
heard about that one. Yeah,
that was, and probably not doing it justice by not remembering the name, but that was by I think the best thing I watched in 2019, movies or TV. And it's based on a true case of these 5 boys who were tried and convicted of rape that did not do the crime. So
I don't think I've seen that.
And the wild thing is I don't, even though I just turned 38, right? I still can identify. I don't feel that old. So as I'm watching the movie, I'm identifying with
When They See Us. Sorry, I had to Google that for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When They See Us. It was the best thing I watched in 2019. I watched it, I think, in almost a year ago. So forgive me for not remembering. I identified with the kids as kids, right? I still could remember being, as a troublemaker. I remember being a little kid and being in front of police and knowing what it was like to be intimidated, and I could relate to how easily it would be just to say something that wasn't true because you thought it was going to get you off. And then also, I'll try to say this without giving any sort of spoilers, there's a certain complicity to the parents. The kids really, in some certain cases, couldn't have been convicted without the parents' help. And so, as you're watching these scenes as a dad, and oh my God, the guy, Omar from The Wire, Michael K. Blanking on his name, but he does such a phenomenal job in that, as well as all of the kid actors, and I'm pretty sure they're all relatively newcomers. But it's the best thing I watched, from an entertainment, because it was well written, it was well done, but also I don't know that I watched anything that moved me that much.
That reminds me of the Netflix. I think it's just one episode. Or it's a documentary. The Tell Me Who I Am. Did you end up watching that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when you say moved me, that was one where I was trying to find something to fall asleep to, and I did kind of at the very beginning, but then obviously I didn't. I'm like, what? I just haven't had, that was like in a good and bad way. Like,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
like, wow, made me feel something, I guess, is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
and the premise of that is that there's twin brothers, and one of them has amnesia, and the other brother is left with this really tough decisions whether to fill his memory back up with the real truth or something to kind of protect him from the truth, and it goes down a really windy road. Yeah,
wild.
and it's a documentary. Yeah, it's all true. It's that was pretty crazy.
Wow, that sounds pretty awesome. Though.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was
Yeah.
pretty crazy for sure. I mentioned Lover and Dedicated. I will say this year, I think I just got into I've always kind of had a propensity for female-led bands, but there was a bunch that I just want to give shout-outs to because I don't know if they were new or not, but Soccer Mommy, they're an awesome band.
Opened up for Paramore.
Opened up for Paramore, and they're playing at Talia Hall this April. I have tickets, a wonderful gift for Christmas. Yeah.
Is that the Martin Luther King Day one?
No, that is another one of my favorite female-led bands, Hop Along.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
it's not her whole band, it's just Frances, the lead singer. So I think she's, I've seen her play solo before, and she still has people playing with her, so maybe it's, I don't know. The guitarist was with her last time too, so there must be some iteration of it. But still, really like her. Beach Bunny, another band I really, really got into. And then Diet Cigarette was another one that I really, really enjoyed. So
Can we just talk about those fucking band names just alone?
yeah,
Diet Cigarette,
Diet
Beach
Cigarette.
Bunny, and what was the other one?
Soccer
Mom.
Moms.
Soccer
What
Moms.
the shit?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. People are running out of names.
Yeah,
There's only so many names.
You gotta
to
respect it, you know?
No.
I mean, it's pretty hilarious. And if the music's good too,
Right.
Yeah.
more power to them.
they are. I mean, I don't know. There's something I just really enjoy. And they're kind of two of the three are pretty, or they're all pretty surfy garage rock type
Okay,
bands.
yeah.
Real fun. So check them out. Those were some of my favorite things.
Did Junkyard come out last year?
Oh yeah, that was Junkyard Samurai
Yeah,
by
I mean,
Prime
since
Cause
we-
and the Palmer Squares.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was one that was like I enjoyed it on my first listen, but I went back to it recently and was just like I really really like it. Maybe it was just because I've had a full year of music to kind of compare it to, but I really really did enjoy that album a lot. Two Chicago-based musical groups. Or one musician, one group, or however you say that appropriately. What do you guys have as far as any books? I should ask. You guys readers?
Well,
I know
yes,
you are,
yes,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
yes and no. I mean, I'm
Go ahead,
a reader.
Throw out your weird shit.
It's just in terms of having time.
Yeah.
Speaking of having time, which is usually on the train,
Oh yeah.
to and fro. But I'm rereading that book because the first time it was either
Just over your head?
it's over my head and I thought it was too dense, but for some reason it makes more sense this time. But it's the ascent literature and all about the reoccurring number of 7 in ascent literature, ascending to heaven.
Yeah.
And obviously that ties in with our ice. What is it?
FireCon.
Ice and FireCon,
Yeah.
and maybe the panel we'll get to do
Yeah.
about the significance of 7 and Game of Thrones. So it's been fun reading that. I read another one that was about Terrence McKenna, Robert Anton Wilson, and Philip K. Dick, and all just their main stories of psychedelia in the 70s. That one was incredibly dense and almost like a I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It was dense.
Yeah.
I finished it, but I probably need to reread it again. But it's definitely enlightening.
Any books for you, Rory?
Lately, I mean, it's kind of a classic, but I never had a chance to read it until now, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh.
I've been reading a lot of like self-help books as it relates to just like investments and professional help. So
Gotcha.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad is really good. It's some good advice about, how to, make great investments strategically and retire early and, things like that. And then just reading some books about like emotional IQ as it pertains to like, anything from like sales to your personal life. So just recognizing just, different emotions when meeting new people and ways to kind of, better yourself in those types of relationships. So for whatever reason, I'm on that kind of kick right now.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's kind of one of the themes of the show, so it ties in for sure. What about your kids? What are some of the books that they're enjoying the most right now or in the past 2019? Can you pick out like
my personal favorite is Goodnight Moon, and I think it's Goodnight Moon, I believe. Famous 70s, I think it's from the 70s. That we try to read to him at night. He'll bring it to us every now and then. Although I'm not sure if he really recognizes it. But it's a short book. It's quick. I think he gets it. That one, Pete the Cat's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the two that come off the top of my head.
That's a classic for sure. We just got one that has like 12 mini stories in it, so it's like a thick one. So every night you can read a different Pete the Cat. There's a book called Fortunately, Unfortunately. It's basically this little monkey type creature that goes on adventures and gets caught up in a volcano. There's dinosaurs. There's aliens, all kinds of cool shit that like as a kid you're just like, whoa, and opens your mind up to like different type of fantasy, shit like that. So yeah, that's a really good one too. So unfortunately, it's a decent one.
Noted.
Yeah.
But is that for a 3-4-year-old, I assume?
Yeah, but it can also,
Okay.
I mean, 1 or 2 year olds, they can follow it as well too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do your kids, and probably not Sawyer, but maybe Ellie, is she a fan of turning the page well before you've read everything? Yeah. Oh yeah, they have no time for that. So now I've
That's
got
absolutely what.
Or just closing it because they think that's
too.
fun,
I'm thinking maybe we'll do this at the end. Maybe I'll grab a book. Having a game, because what I do now is it's how fast can I make up a story just based on the pictures
before he's done.
Oh yeah, so it's just based on pictures, solely. And he has a collection of Disney ones, and there's one about this horse Max, and the story in my head, or now that we've done a couple times, is the whole, they ask the horse to be part of their family. The horse says no. Then the horse changes his mind, becomes part of the family. They celebrate by going to the bar, and the horse gets shit-faced and passed out, and they leave him on the floor of the bar. That's what it looks like from the pictures. I swear to God, if you were just to piece it together, I would dare anyone else to prove me wrong.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that might have to be a game either for the future or for the future tonight. Yeah, he has no time for actual words on pages right now.
Yeah, and if he does, it's usually the texture that he wants to.
Exactly. And so we have a lot of those books, or like the tab and pull, where you pull the tab, and
he's got one of those space ones that folds out and it has like the texture for each planet and whatnot. He digs that one.
Chef's super into farm animals right now, so you've got a lot of farm related ones, bubble guppy related
and
ones.
Dylan's doing this where he's only using his middle finger on his left, so it's like I mean, he uses his pointer when he's doing other things, but when he's being serious, it's interesting.
Well, what's funny is like when Shep was a little kid, I used to like take his finger and point at the stuff for him, and be like, "Okay, this is this, this is this," and every now and then it's like just really random. He'll like I don't pick it up right away normally, but he puts his hand in my hand and he's like trying to get me to do something. I don't know what it is, and I'm like, oh, you want me to take your finger and like put it on stuff?
That's cute, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you're regressing, cool.
Yeah, right.
Right as a new baby's about to come, perfect. Yeah, no, I mean that's I think the books for me. I just finished the second book in the Witcher series, which is the first two are a collection of short stories.
I just started watching.
Yeah, so I like
it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the books.
Toss a coin to your Witcher. That's a great song.
Yeah. Valley of Plenty.
Valley of Plenty.
Valley of Plenty. So I really enjoyed that. I mean, doing another reread, I think it would be remiss. So we're doing a reread of Storm of Swords right now. We reread Clash of Kings and Game of Thrones earlier. We're trying to time it up with what we think will be the release of Winds of Winter. So for anyone that's interested in reading the Game of Thrones books, if you can catch up, or like I said, we're on Storm of Swords now.
Are you a fan of Game of Thrones? Or?
I am a fan.
Okay.
Had the History of Westeros for the Valar Rereadus project. We'll give that a good plug. And so it's one of those things I'm super pumped. And probably I'll introduce it to Shep, the novels, and start reading them well before he's like old enough to process 90% of the content that's in there. But I mean that's one I get excited for. But I do see this love of reading, and that I'm hoping continues. That I didn't have as a kid, at all.
Me either.
And I regretted it because I as a young adult, I fell in love with it again, or just for the first time, really. And I just felt like there's all this time I missed out on. I'm like, I could have, and I retroactively went back and tried to reread a lot of those books that, I was assigned in school that I never did. And, to get that, education that I was supposed to have. So
They still sucked when you were an adult too.
no, what book totally sucked that I was really jazzed up for me was Catcher in the Rye. I remember
you talked to me.
and I think I just maybe missed the boat, read it too late in life. But like everyone was like, "Oh, Holden Caulfield." Like, well, I found him so annoying personally, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. It's probably a topic for another time. But yeah, I think those are my favorites, and I think we'll go over to some of our 2019 favorite moments, just in general, and. Before we get to our favorite moments as dads, I think one of my favorite things, we'll talked about it a couple times, Ice and FireCon. Jimmy and I went there in April of 2019. That was a lot of fun. Con of Thrones in July was also a really fun trip. We made it out to Whistler with my wife, which was just gorgeous. There's an area or a little lake there called Green Lake. So, and then there was also Park City early on. We did a ski trip there, which was super cool as well with some friends.
You guys do that almost every year, right? Or the last few years?
Yeah, we have my brother-in-law lives in Park City, and we try to get up there, and he's normally a pretty gracious host.
Nice.
Shout out to Ski Butler. Ski Butler normally hooks us up. So, if you've never been out to Utah's one of those states that I'd never been to, and I just thought was a flat, boring state full of like Mormons, basically.
Yeah.
And then I went there and just realized it's this total hidden gem. Like, I think they undersell it on purpose. It's, got awesome mountains, crazy deserts. It's just this really cool state that I, get excited about exploring more and more. So yeah, those are some of my highlights. What about you guys? Rory.
For me, went to San Diego earlier in the year. We try to go there every year for a few days, like a long weekend, check out the beaches, all that kind of stuff. Went to Big Sky, Montana I think it was August for my wife's birthday. That was amazing.
Pictures looked amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, we went during summer, so we did a lot of hikes. I mean, it's in the movie River Runs Through It. Was filmed in the area, and it's everything you could imagine.
And
just
very kid friendly.
Very kid friendly. They have like a town square with live music. My buddy Matt Zaremba lives out there, so he was a great host and showed us the local scene. It's awesome out there. So with the Yellowstone Park, checked out like the Old Faithful and all that kind of stuff. I think next time I would love to get like an RV and just do it for like a full week and just go to Yellowstone for a couple days because it's so big.
And I've heard you're in the car a lot.
You are.
There's a lot of driving, like 2 or 3 hours.
There is, yeah. So if you go, like, definitely go for a couple days with, like, a camper or something, because then you can actually get into the park, see the wildlife, but it definitely takes a couple days. So those 2 trips were the shit, and just, obviously bringing the kids along and seeing them react to new experiences is always dope. So that was fun. Yeah.
Man, I'm thinking while you're talking on my highlights, and obviously Ice and FireCon.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to expect, and not that I didn't want to go, but I did. It's just my personality, and I'm like.
Well, you also had never read the books. And
never read the book.
Show.
Putting yourself in a weird situation, which I do like in theory, but still, when you're like, oh my god, we're actually going to do this, and then it turned out to be amazing. Minus losing my phone, but what's new?
Yeah.
So that was great. I also just remember, I went to Red Rocks for the first time.
Yeah.
Went to Denver for Big Red Dave's bachelor party. So saw 311 twice, once in a small venue and then at Red Rocks. So that was great. Then other than that, it's really just when bringing it back to Dylan when he slept through the night.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
10 months, 10 and a half months. Yeah, 10 and a half months in. So yeah, that was glorious.
Yes, you guys have. Yeah, if we do a sleeping episode, we'll have you on as like a perspective of someone who hasn't had a.
And apparently we had. I mean, yes, we had a bad, but I guess it can get so much worse.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the important thing to remember.
Right. So.
And I would say I think I mentioned this in the recording that we are not going to use. That watching all my friends just be dads now that I am a dad. I think before maybe kind of resented some of the dads because as becoming a dad, you're not as available, right? And when I didn't have kids and people weren't available because of those kids, I didn't resent the kids. It was just like I miss my friends, I was like, oh, but and then there's something kind of fun that happens when you become a dad too, because you understand it, and all that resentment just kind of like dissipates, right? And and it didn't carry it with me, but it goes, and instead you feel like you joined this kind of club or this, there's this. And maybe it's because we all had kids around the same time, Ellie and Dylan and Shep all being really close in age. But yeah, it's been cool to watch everyone kind of go to this next stage together, and that's kind of why this podcast happened. And you're going to see a lot of those dads that I'm referring to as guests in future episodes, and hopefully it's something that it's not just I think I have really awesome friends that are great dads. I hope everyone else that listens agrees, and they're like, wow, that's a really, really great group of guys. We're going to talk about our favorite 2019 moments with our kids here. We're going to pause for a word from our sponsor, Sleep 6. Make the most of what you get. Sleep 6, sleep made simple. Speaking of making things simple, these two guys make being dads look pretty simple. We're going to talk about 2019, your favorite moments, guys. Let's talk about 2019, your highlights as a dad. And, for Jimmy and I, it's kind of cheating because our kids were so small in 2018 that the majority of our dadhood took place in the year of 2019. So, we're going to have a lot of the firsts that are going to be on most parents' lists, as the kid's like 21, we're experiencing now. The first steps, first words, all that stuff. So I'm interested more so, Rory, Sawyer's older, you said 4. And,
he'll be 4 in like 2 weeks, yeah.
So, what kind of things did you see developmentally with Sawyer in 2019 that were really exciting or really cool for you? And maybe not even developmentally, it could be just anything in general.
Yeah, I think just like you said, everything, even when they get into the 3 and 4-year-old and 5, everything's new. Every day is different. Him stringing along sentences, being able to converse with you and ask you questions about the world. I think that was the most kind of cool thing for me. It's coming to me, asking me like why things are. And granted, it's a lot of questions, but it's a lot of pressure too as a dad. It's like, okay, I need to explain this in a way that I sound intelligent.
Shit,
and
I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so that was just really cool, and continue to help him learn things and be there for him as he's learning all this cool new stuff, and being able to communicate it to you as well. So
was there
that was
anything
really
in
cool.
particular that he asked you about that like was really hilarious or just caught you off guard?
Not really. I think just the consistency. You always see on like TV shows and movies, it's like the kids are like, why? And they just keep asking. I thought that's all BS, but it's kind of incessant now. It's all day long. It's like you kind of need to be on your A game, and I want to be there to answer as many questions as I can. But it makes me nervous about when they're older and bringing home homework and stuff. I'm like, shit, I don't know.
Especially math. I'm just like, take it
Dad,
to your mom.
You're an accountant.
Yeah.
Right.
But hopefully by that point, like just YouTube.
Yeah,
you
fucking
can
Excel. Put it in Excel.
Yeah,
By that time it'll just be an implant. That'll
Yes.
just download the formula for you.
Technology would be more advanced than
Elon
for sure.
Musk, give me that implant.
Seriously. So that was just dope, just being able to kind of like help him, guide him through the world, answer questions that he has, and it's just it gives you a new perspective as well, because we could call the day to day, we don't pay attention to that stuff. It's like, all right, let's stop and kind of break it down in a more simpler way, and just be there for them in that kind of cool way. So that was dope. And then with Ellie, she'll be 2 in March, so not that much older than your guys' kids. Just being able different words every day, being able to share in different joys, whether it's just laughing about something or like helping them through things that they can actually look for and speak to and play games, and instead of just like you said, kind of being a blob on the floor and can't really do much. So yeah.
It kind of brings home this idea because right now Shep's it's like everything is what, like he wants me to identify things. Right. He's like building his vocabulary and definition and identifying things. So it's like, oh, that's a car. And even if we walk by 5 cars, it's like, what? My car. It's like, what? Car.
Yeah, right.
So I can fast forward, and I find myself doing that a lot as a dad. Like once one developmental milestone occurs, I start thinking about the next domino to fall. I'm like, oh, that means it's going to be this, and then this, and then this, and then this.
What turns to why turns to then
Yes.
more analytical type stuff and just
100%.
discovering things.
And it's something you look forward to, but at the same time, we're, again, something I think that'll be a theme throughout these episodes is this idea of like enjoying the moment you're in with the stage, you know, versus looking forward, because you know, explaining that stuff's hard, and you know, you watch what you ask for when you're like, oh, I can't wait to just do this, or you know, I can't wait to share a beer with my kid, and then also means you have to explain about like drinking responsibly and like
The bigger conversations,
all these things, you know, like hopefully everything you've done as a dad, you know, has led up to that point that it's not a difficult discussion. It's more like, oh, that's common sense, Dad. Yeah, okay. Right. But still, you know, you know, it's easier for them to connect because you've had this healthy interface with them.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. But what about you, Jimmy?
And I was gonna mention with Dylan, like he's not saying what, but he probably is in his head, but he doesn't know he's saying
He's
it.
4 months behind.
But what I've been trying to get myself into a habit of is saying what it is, because it's easy to get to not. So that's been one of my things, like wall, you know, whatever, bike,
right,
whatever it is, airplane, which he recognizes. So that's been one thing that Emily and I have been really trying to do more, and that's really coming from our nanny, like just because she's been doing it for she's great. She's
right.
I mean, yeah, we don't take him to a daycare, but he's basically got a teacher.
Exactly.
He's just not just there making sure he doesn't die and
right,
sleep.
yeah.
Like one-on-one teaching, which is invaluable, really. But yeah, all the, you know, like you mentioned, all the milestones, him walking, which I got on the iPhone, which is pretty cool. But to me personally, it's seeing him smile at me and giggle, and bringing back Tool. It's the first time I saw him at least try to imitate a air guitar, which was really just this.
Yeah.
Or he didn't even have the hand up. He does this. And now he'll do that often if it's like a heavy guitar and whatever it is. So, and even Emily's like, oh, look, he's doing it. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another episode about music and kids too, right? I mean, that's awesome. That's a great point.
Yeah, and we, you know, we don't watch a bunch of TV, so music, and I hate silence, so music is on constantly. So it'll be interesting to see how that fits in his worldview as time goes on.
Yeah, and I mean, and I would say one of my highlights also with Shep is musically related, so maybe it is an episode. But I, you know, you go through the nighttime routine and part of his books, then the lights go off, and then it's you know, rocking, and then it's kind of like a lullaby thing. And I had, you know, really since we brought him home, I'd been consistent with singing him this Yeah 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 song, and it's like every night. And he probably about 3 months ago, maybe even going back further than 3 months ago, he would start singing, but it was always like Twinkle Twinkle, and now it's like Old MacDonald. He loves E-I-E-I-O. And it's just that part of the song. It's just E-I-E-I-O.
Right.
And he can do some of the animal noises. But it was like night or two before my January 1st, and I'm rocking him, and he'll ask for songs by like singing the parts he knows, and he started the beginning of Turn Into by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And I was like, yes! And I told my wife about it, and she was kind of skeptical about whether it had happened, but then he did it again yesterday in front of her, and it was a really cool moment. That was like a very, very rewarding, warm-hearted moment. And one of my, you know, it was the end of 2019, so maybe some recency bias there. You know, walking was cool. I loved Halloween. I'm a big Halloween costume person. Shep had three different costume
changes.
That's
awesome.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Elliot from E.T., Steve Jobs at the
that was amazing.
at the petting zoo, and then Post Malone. We went to
That's right. I saw those.
Yeah, the Post Malone one turned out awesome.
But that was before like Halloween, right? Or was
that was like a couple days. It was like a little festival,
like the weekend
Park was having.
You have to flip up the pictures like when you edit this, so that people can see that.
Yeah, it'll go to Instagram. Check out the Instagram. I'll make sure at the top of the show we mention the Instagram handle. So hit that up and you'll see all the costumes we're talking about, and maybe some other content from Ice and Fire Con. And
Dylan was an avocado. We just didn't go anywhere because the weather was so shitty.
The weather was awful. We didn't go anywhere either.
We were we're close to Larry that has, people, they ship people in because the houses are so amazing, and they just go hard on the Halloween stuff, and we were like, we're not walking down there. It was snowing. That's right. It was
That
snowing.
weather was absolute
I forgot.
bullshit.
But
That was brutal.
The event that we went to with your sister, that was beautiful.
That was
I thought it
awesome. Yeah, right, dude.
So, I mean, I was glad we did these multiple things and you had these multiple costumes.
Yeah.
Because the actual Halloween was such a wash here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a blizzard. We went to that. It was. It'll be
Impromptu
part
show.
of another episode, which is my worst hangover as a dad, which was the next day because we went to the Pride Pod show. Well, I might as well show this too. I think may have shown this in episode 1 or not, but this is the show. Lost a lot of stuff on the way home. Took me 3 Ubers to actually get home. I thought I'd lost my wallet for 2 months until I found it ripped to shreds underneath our couch.
And I left my debit card and ID there as well.
Yeah.
A solid night.
But that's pretty standard for me.
I puked before leaving to take Shep to daycare, and then couldn't make it home and had to puke in the alley on the way back, like just hanging out of my car. So.
Yeah. And I called in sick, and I haven't called in sick in a long time.
I think it's gotta be my number 1 hangover.
Of all time?
No, of being from
Oh,
all time,
of
all time
dad.
of being a
Yeah.
dad.
I was just saying,
All time
yeah.
of being a dad, yeah.
I definitely have. Oh yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably my top 5, maybe of all time.
Spoiler alert! I might have to edit this out because I do plan on doing a top hangover as a dad episode. I might have just ruined everything, but I'm sure I have some other ones I can find.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few more. You
And I
can
just remember
conjure
like
up.
speaking. It was right before like our nanny was leaving. And I was like, can I just lay down for like 10 more minutes? Like I was like, I hadn't eaten all day and I was like shaky. I'm just like, thank God you've been here because I don't know what the hell was gonna happen. There's no way.
Oh yeah, it
No
was.
way.
It was brutal. I'm trying to think what else. For Shep's my highlights as a dad. Yeah, I mean it's just really it's just too broad I think of an answer, but the real overall thing is just like the bond he and I have formed. We are super tight. And I just love that. I worked really hard for that. I feel like when he was a baby, was very, very aware of and I think it was maybe the idea that the realization, and this was something I don't know if we'll talk about in more length at a different time, but the idea of going through the pregnancy period as a guy versus the woman, and I always thought that I would be more connected, or I would have this, I don't know, but I was surprised by how it was very much, it seemed, like I felt very much not a part of it up until like the baby was there. And and I don't know if I was trying to make up for lost time or if it was just that once that baby was there, then it kicked into overdrive. But, it was like I really wanted to, build that connection, So and the seeing that pay off and, now we're getting to the point where we're starting to test boundaries, and I'm wondering if that close bond is maybe, we'll see something you watch what you wish for kind of thing, because you're the guy that he's going to go to, so you really have to develop this, a little bit of a stiffer upper lip than maybe I'm used to, because it's easy for me to give in. So that'll be something for 2020 to look into, whether I can stop getting Shep snacks.
Probably not, though.
No.
Now, you raise a good point, though. I mean, I think, traditionally, at least myself growing up, and this is the dynamic with my kids, I'm not the disciplined figure. I'm more like the fun dad. But you're right. It comes to a point where like it puts you at a disadvantage because they push your boundaries, and you can't. It takes a little more time to kind of come back into that role as an authoritative figure versus like, screw you, Dad. Like, I can get away with whatever versus Mom, who might drop the hammer more.
Well, right.
So
And then-
it's tough to change that after you've started it a bit.
And I feel like the no's hurt the kid more, because he's so used to getting his way with you that when you do, like you said, he'll be like, yeah, all right. And you're like, no, like we're really not going to
I'm serious.
Yeah. And then it's more traumatic than when because they kind of expect it from
Yeah.
disciplinary.
Like, you're my bro. Come on.
And it hurts you too. You're like,
Yeah,
dude, I want to hook you up, bro. I really want to, but
Yeah, it's definitely going to be opposite. I'm going to be that dad because that's how my dad was.
Yeah.
And we're having that hard time now when I'm trying to say no, or like when he's and he's just doing it in spite of me, and he's turning over just grinning just because he wants me to say no. He wants me to get louder because then he just giggles, and it's usually when he's slap happy.
Yeah.
It seems like it at least. So now it's this fine line of like, does Emily need to step in more and say no? It's just like at the same time he's not doing anything. he's pushing books or like doing something
Yeah.
super small.
Yeah.
Even my speakers, I mean, he's just grazing the grill, but he knows what he's doing.
Oh,
he's
so
like, I just
wait.
get daddy's
Yeah,
attention.
just wait.
Yeah.
I think they start to push. I mean, he's just started it more so, but from what I've read, this is like that time period where they begin to, and then you start because he's 18 months, starting to get close to those terrible 2s or 3-nagers. So,
Right, yeah.
So this is like the beginning of it. He's starting, and which is why I want to be so cognizant of it, because I think addressing it later is harder, right? If I'm trying to recorrect or recalibrate now, it's maybe I have a slight chance, versus if I'm doing it at 2 or 3.
And I don't know, like, if what I'm sure what I'm doing is completely wrong, but it's just like, do I need to read a book? Do I need to get on Google? And like, how do I let him know? And maybe he's just too young still.
Right.
That like,
Well,
this is not what you do. Instead of saying no, do this instead.
And I'm sure you could talk to 10 different pediatricians and get 10 different answers on this, but like I know our pediatrician, when we were talking to him, definitely at 12 months, and I'm trying to think, when was the last week? Oh, we probably have one coming up here. But in his last appointment, it was too early to really start disciplining it anyway. Like they were too young to like figure it out, because we had mentioned that our daycare does time out. We're like.
Is that too
And
young?
and I was like, and they're like, well, they don't really connect it, it's as long as they're not.
They probably think it's fun. Like, we're gonna hang over here and.
Well, and I'll say this in the daycare's defense, Shep, I know behaves 100 times better when he's at daycare than he does.
Agreed. Yeah, that's how my kids are too.
And so I know that's a fact. And I mean, I think that's natural, right? To a certain degree, there's a certain amount of comfort that plays into that. But I think there's probably a happy medium there, right? Somewhere between me and daycare.
Yeah.
But trust me, I got nothing but love for the girls that take care of Shep. I like them all.
That's good.
I think except for one, maybe.
Has any turnover? It's been the same people the whole.
There's been the same 2 like core people.
Well, that's good. Because to me that would worry me. Like you just like, oh my god, how many different people are you gonna hire or have to hire?
Really been just turnover at one other position, and that was it. And it wasn't like that one person worked there for a while and then she was gone. Unfortunately, it was Shep's favorite lady, so like kind of sad to see her go. Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So I think that's good.
When I'm in that groove, when I'm in that mood, and I'm in that mode, and I'm in that zone, when I'm in that flow, when I'm in that groove, when I'm in that mood, when I'm in that mode, and I'm in that zone, and I'm in that flow. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Actually brings me to an idea. I didn't think I was going to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up because you guys are 2 creative dudes. You're weird dudes, and I just kind of want to throw this out there. I have these different goals for the show, and we talked about those in episode 1, and there's going to be these progress reports. But I keep feeling that I really do have this feeling that like I don't want to use the term blessed, but I'm lucky enough to have a really awesome group of guy friends around me, right? Better than most dudes' friends. But then I was thinking like, how could I prove that? How could I prove that my group of dude friends are actually better than your group of dad friends? And I'm thinking like there's a format for this, right? And I don't know. I mean, obviously it works best on TV, but I don't know anyone on TV or you would even know how to begin putting something on TV. But I do think that there's an avenue to have you see these like the game show where they'll have it at a bar, right? And there's an audience and they're doing kind of like typical game show TV type games, and they play it out like that. And I think it would be a competition where you'd have friends compete against other groups of friends to be the best group of friends by showing that you're like a multi-talented. So maybe like one game would be trivia, right? To show like you guys are smarter than the other group. And then it's like, okay, well, we have a full live band set up. You guys perform a song live. You know, and then it's like, all right,
like with no rehearsal, like
this is all right. Well, they'll give them like 15 minutes, like put something together where they can just be like, okay, we're gonna play A, B, C, D. You're gonna sing. And
would you know the topics beforehand or no?
No, I think it would be like kind of like a spin thing. So there'd be like you could go to these different games, or like and then it'd be like, or like one of your friends has to go up and perform stand up, and you guys have to figure out like who's gonna do that, like, audience. And then at the end, there's one group of friends that wins over another, and then it would be kind of like either round robin or winner stays, where that group of friends just takes on winners constantly. Would you pay money for that to go watch that? Like if it was a drinking event and your wife was like, hey, you want to go get drunk and watch these dudes compete against each other? Like,
Yeah,
to see who the
that
best
sounds-
friends are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, man.
Hey,
Yeah, that
would you
sounds
be on
awesome.
my team?
That's questionable. Yeah, I'll get back to you on
Yeah,
that.
All right. Well, I'm just if you're a listener and you have a way to help us make this game show / whatever we want to call it happen, again, that email address is newdadpod, Pod, not bod, at gmail.com.